Reading. Oh,
There it goes. Hey, bingo, bango. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Comic Crack for another Sunday chat. This time with both, I guess all three of us, Larasa and Sleepy Reader. Hello, everybody.
Hiya.
good morning. Good evening to Larasa.
Good
Yeah,
evening well, good morning to you guys. Good evening to me.
yeah. So, how is everybody? We sort of chatted already, but anything you want to say off the top, or I don't know. Yeah.
um, I'm glad I'm not sick anymore. I've been sick for like the past week, so
Oh yeah.
I've been struggling with flu. It's becoming cold and colder, so yeah. But I'm good now, so I have plenty of books to read, and that's exciting as well. So
Yeah. We actually turned on our heat this week, which is, I mean, even in it for Winnipeg standards, that's a little early. Usually by Halloween there's snow on the ground, but this is pretty early for us to be turning on the heat.
now, thankfully, the heating is still not on for us. I mean, it's kind of cold, but it's not that cold enough to switch on that, the heater thing.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's getting there, and the wind, the wind chills in the mornings when you go to work, for example, that's what basically does it to you.
it's getting frosty. Yeah.
Yeah,
So out of anybody, you for sure do have a big stack of books after seeing your pickup from the Comic Mart. Is that what it's called?
yeah, London Comic Mart, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a place now for me to go buy books. I realized one thing, like when you, especially for me, I don't have comic book shops, so it's very difficult and it's frustrating actually when hearing you, for example, both of you guys having so many comic book shops around. Oh yeah, I went to this one. Oh, around the corner is the another one. I was
Yeah.
like, "Ah, where is everybody here? Why?" So the last time they had a comic book shop was 10 years ago. They have opened something. It's a comic book shop, but they only mainly doing trades, which is fine. They have like plenty of Nobrow, the Terrence, you like
Nice.
Nobrow,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they have like a actual aisle dedicated to Nobrow, which is kind of
Come on.
and because I had never seen Nobrow anywhere else. I mean, they kind of niche market and they offer coffee with the books, which is kind of thing as
Nice.
well. But the prices are quite high though,
Oh yeah.
and I would like to support, but as I support already a comic book guy for who's like giving me those new books now, kind of it's difficult, like you have to basically see at the end of the day is the money. I have to calculate. I can't just splash. Oh, if I could, yes, no
Yeah.
problem. But if I, just sometimes I look at it there, they have really like quite a good stack of trades, which I would like to have it, honestly. They have Little Nemo, those ginormous Little
Yes.
Nemo books.
Are
Uh-huh.
those like $100 or something? Or
Yeah,
100
it's
pounds?
70 pounds in there. So it's not
Wow.
that close in comparison to where I looked on Amazon, for example. Not bad at all. So if I would have the money, I would, like I looked actually, they let me flip through. I was amazing. I was like, oh, detail,
Beautiful.
detail. I love detail, because I draw detail art as well. So for me, it's like every single stroke is like, oh, amazing. So
And you're
yeah,
you're talking like the original, the Windsor McKay
yeah,
ones, right? Yeah.
yeah. I'm
So
talking
that's
that.
what that's like the 20s or 30s. What was the era?
I'm not really sure.
Earlier than that, turn of the
Oh, yeah.
century, I think.
Wow. See, that's the
Oh,
thing that's mind-boggling. I've seen one of the oversized ones at one of the shops here, and I couldn't justify buying it mainly because it's such an enormous size. I don't know where the hell I would put it. But same thing, I got to flip through it, and I have a bunch of it digitally as well. It's
mm,
incredible stuff, and especially when you think of the time period that it was coming out, I
mm.
can't, it's one of those things I can't imagine what people thought of it at the time when it was out.
Well, that's the thing. I would like to have it as part of the history. Comics is what's so attractive for me to comics is that they have such a vast history behind it.
Yeah.
I know I am a history freak or something like that, but I just like that it kind of preserving kind of things because everything now we go in digital, la 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 la, and I like actual comics to touch to look
Yeah.
to. It's appealing that to me.
There's a
So yeah.
guy that I watch that talks about like movies. I think Skin Slip is his name. He talks a
Mhm.
lot about movies and exploitation movies and art house movies, etc. And that's how he put it as well. It's almost like you're an archivist as well. You're buying these physical copies, so there is now a copy of that in existence. If something happens to every other copy in the world, you
Mhm.
still have that copy of that movie or that book, or in this case, the comic that can then be kind of reuse to redistribute those ideas or those images and things like that. I thought that was kind of an interesting, neat way to look at like the kind of sickness sometimes that's collecting. But I mean, it kind of puts it in some perspective a little
A
bit.
very apocalyptic way of looking at it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean,
When the
obviously,
apocalypse, you will be the archivist.
yeah. You will have that book. Yeah.
Well, if I had a space like a bat cave, man, that's no problem. You know, I have shelves everywhere around me, so it's perfect. But unfortunately, I do not have that.
No.
That would be nice.
Well, it's true, and then especially when you were saying like the price point for the things like the No-Brow books, as much as I love them, they are pricey for sure, and that's kind of a little bit of an investment. I actually picked up, they had this free Titan Comics preview at my shop, and they have some great, it was just a great thing to kind of stumble on. They have a lot of great graphic novels coming from that, and that's another UK-based company as well. But apparently they're in the Previews magazine now, so I guess it'll be a bit easier for us to get stuff here too. They're putting out a lot of really good graphic novels coming up too, so that look really interesting. So.
They're actually releasing, Damon, you're probably interested in that, but Elric. They're really releasing the Elric in the graphic novel, Titan books. I'm not sure.
I got their first volume of Elric. I haven't read it yet, so I can't.
So, yeah,
My excuse to buy the next one.
Because you know, I bought those that Elric's first appearance in Conan the Barbarian, and the guy who was talking to me, he's actually wrote a prose or that first I don't know how you call it. You know, when somebody, a guest writer, writes something for a book. So this is the guy's actual copy of it. Of his actually owned the copies. He's selling it because he needs money. So I bought it from him. So he was talking about that he released it as well.
So wait a sec. So he was the guest writer on that issue. Is that what you said?
Yeah, he's the writer. You know, when at the beginning of graphic novels, you have that somebody writes about that.
Okay, and a foreword and stuff. Okay.
There you go. Yeah. Sorry, my gets locked somewhere in the brain. It doesn't come out.
So have you started reading any of those books? Have you dug into any of them?
What you mean, the stack of the book I bought?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Gotham Central took first priority kind of thing. I am really big fan of detectives. I love Law and Order. So of course I was interested in that straight away, and I picked up the first issue. I read it, and I was like, I want to read more, and it was really good start for the first issue, intriguing enough, and I think because Ed Brubaker and Greg Rucka was writing it, and I was like, oh my god, it's really easy to follow, interesting to know about the characters straight away, although they weren't introducing anything much about them at that issue, for example. But they were already having villains. They don't want to see Batman. You know, they want to be, police guys at the end of the day. They don't need Batman. So that was intriguing enough. So I started reading it. So I read 5 first issues, and I already today I was like, oh, I haven't read one. I need to read it again. So I was like, oh, I want to know what's gonna happen next. So it's really cool. I mean, the first issue is about that Mr. Freeze.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know much about DC Universe, so when I got this stack, that was just perfect. I was like, I couldn't believe how many DCs I see, because usually that's an issue. It's like big Marvel selections all the time, but never DC. So when I saw something like that, I was like, I started picking it up, and I was like, the guy who's selling it, he was like looking at me really weird. I was like, you're actually gonna take those? Well, if you're gonna give me a nice price, of course I will. And he's like, oh, see, let's continue with that. So I got from him like this stack of books. I looked at it. And he's like, and they they want to get as much as possible, of course. Of course,
yeah.
Yes, because at the end of the day they're doing the sale, and I said to him, I'm gonna give you £50 for that. Would you like to, he's like, oh, I want 55. I was like, I want 50, or I walk away. And he's like, wow, you're beautiful, but you're very mean. I was like, well, I know what kind of, at the end of the day, it's for me as well. I need to find the appealing price. I can't just, I'm not trying to take away from him, because I bought like really a lot. I mean, at the end of the day, I was the good customer for him, and he's like, well, you're the only one who actually managed to spend that much money, because everybody have like competition kind of thing for there. They have the stalls. It's kind of Comic-Con kind of thing in a way, but with lower prices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so kind of like the flea markets that we have here. It sounds like anyway, which is always a great place to go to, because the haggling can always work out in your favor, So
Well, no, the one guy was actually quite rude to me because I wanted to buy Conan the Barbarian #1, and I was looking. It was an appealing price, but the book wasn't as what I thought he's like Grady. He was just saying to me. I looked it up inside, and he was £100. It's like I'm not paying for that. I'm not £100. So I'm gonna give you 80, but I'm not gonna give you £100. And he's like, no, I'm not doing charity work. So I walked away. I'm not gonna talk to somebody who's like that. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So it's kind of intimidating as well. Before, like the beginning, like maybe first year of my back issue buying, I never haggled. I was afraid, kind of haggling. You know, the female kind of thing, maybe side to it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. But sometimes you just feel like I don't really know much about grade. I mean, I know what I want, but when I see something flaw in the book, I just don't want to haggle kind of in that time. So
I have never haggled, so maybe I'm very female.
I'm honestly not crazy about it either. It makes me uncomfortable, but I found the one thing that did help, because I'm the same way. I'm not that good at grading. I couldn't tell you a grade to save your life. I found that watching Nick's videos when he did all those grading videos kind of helped in that. Even if I couldn't really get into the haggling with them to some degree, or in depth to really kind of fight for a deal, at least I could look at a book and kind of get a general sense of, oh, I don't think that's worth that price, or I could pass on it or make one offer. I'm usually the kind of person, if I make an offer and they say no, that's as far as I go. I don't usually fight it. I just go, okay, that's it, and then I leave, you know. So, because it makes me uncomfortable haggling. I figure there should be some sort of give and take, even though I know that, like you said, at the end of the day, these guys want to make a profit. They have these books that they got at whatever kind of deal, maybe not a deal, I don't know, and they're trying to turn a couple of bucks, but there's always that thought of like they are overcharging, especially at those kind of like flea market type places. My experience anyway, they always jack the prices up a little bit anyway so they can have room to haggle, right? So.
Yeah, well, of course, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I know Conan the Barbarian #1, it goes for quite high price, and but he was kind of rude to me. So I was like, I'm not dealing with rude people. I mean, I don't have to. I came here to enjoy myself. I came here. If people are really open, I don't mind paying. If like this guy, for example, when he was selling the Elrics, I mean, it wasn't the cheapest. Like I paid £14 per se, but because of the stack, I said it cost me less, which is true because I bought so many things from one place.
Yeah.
But if you would say to me, like, because he had such a nice story, and I wanted to get that book no matter, I didn't really have much to the. Oh, I was like, yeah, I want that book. I actually, you know, there's history behind it. No matter, you know, maybe believe it or not, he was really good salesman in that sense, away. But you know, you are a customer at the end of the day. So when you wanted some from something, you just deserve to be sensed, like saying, okay, I respect your thought, but don't come back to me and say, oh, I'm not doing charity. So I was like, I walked away. I got really pissed off, actually. I was like, right. I didn't say anything else. I was just like,
well, and then for a guy like that, it's just another book that he's got to cart around now because it's, you know, you didn't sell it. Just to kind of break in quickly, Matt, Wednesday Serial is watching, and he says, Damien, that you do have very feminine qualities.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I try to nurture my feminine side.
Good thing. It's a good thing.
Where's your picture?
I do lowball. Well, lowball. I do offer low prices on eBay and the like, but I don't want to like that situation you just described. I don't want to get into that. You know, of having someone, you know, give me a snotty reply. I guess some people have thick skins and some have thinner skins.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I actually never experienced that in that Comic Mart before. I actually got like stumbled a little bit, but I was like, I put my foot down. I was like, what? What is this? I mean, I never had this experience. And honestly, the guy who was selling that book was from the, like, they have like proper website, they have proper shop, so he's kind of proper dealer. So I don't know, maybe that's why he was talking to me in that sense. It didn't have to be rude, but I said to him, look, I'm gonna give you 80. I wasn't even rude towards it. I just like, I offered him something, you know. Right. He's like, oh, no, I'm not taking this charity. And he had 4 copies of Conan the Barbarian #1. So I was looking at the one of the, you know, issues which were kind of okay, and he was looking like at me like this. I was like, oh, I don't need this. You know, I can find somewhere else if I want to, even maybe hopefully for cheaper or whatever. Yeah. You know. Or
I don't need to buy it ever. You know, like it doesn't kind of.
I really like Barry, so I really want to. I really do want to buy that. Yeah,
if
it's just
they're not rude to you, you might buy some other comic from them. I mean, it's not a good business practice to drive you away because of one price
yeah,
difference.
and he's there
Yeah.
every single day. I mean, every single time they are open, he's always there. So he's making business at the end of the day. But his books are priced way too high for my liking, for example. But I always try to, like that's the thing. You have wall books, and you go approach them, see the book. Some people, like, as I say, a couple of them before that, they were nice. They talk to you. You can have a mutual understanding. If that's not too much for you, and if you can't give it away, say, "Oh, look, I can't give it to you for that price, because," and it's easy.
Yeah.
But no, he was like, "Ooh," splat out of me, like, kind of thing. I was like, okay, I don't need that. I have a good day. I had so many books. I was like, oh, I don't need this. I just left. You
Yeah.
know.
I think there are different kind of dealers. There are some who want to sell a lot of comics, and there are some who would rather not sell so many and wait for the big spender to come along who doesn't care what it costs. I see that in the different, since I have so many different shops here, the prices are very different between the different shops, and
Mhm.
and
Well, for
some
him,
clearly are just willing to wait. I mean,
for
one
him, it's
place-
a tip. I mean, he has to go to, because I know they website, and that's quite far away for him to travel to London. At the end of the day, it's price and petrol, stuff, blah, 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 blah. But I guess, as I say, it's probably that person, as you say, Damien, that he's the one who wants that high-end price for every single book he has.
right. He'll sell less, but he'll sell higher,
Yeah.
I guess, or
Yeah.
that's the hope.
Well, then you get into the situation like the one place here where his stuff is priced so high that I just was there yesterday looking around because his place has been sold now. So I don't know if he's finished. So I'm poking my head in to see if he does have any sales. His prices are so high that his shop is stocked with stuff that's been there for years and years and years, and he doesn't move anything. So it's like, that's great if you want to hold out, but I mean, it's the famous saying, it's only worth what people are going to pay for it. And if nobody's buying it, then you're just sitting on this warehouse basically filled with, at the end of the day, is just going to get kind of shittier and shittier, excuse my language, to sitting on the shelves and deteriorate, and you're just not going to move it, So I didn't talk to him about their situation, but I overheard them talking to somebody else that they're just moving to a smaller location and that sort of thing. So I'm waiting for that time because I know they're going to have to downsize, so I'm waiting for the big 50% off of everything and then dive in there and get some books and stuff. So
Exactly. Well, yeah, of course.
go ahead, Amy. Yeah.
There are also places I think that will sell cheaply at a flea market or a convention, but at their shop they'll sell high. They like, if they feel they need to move the books, they don't want to reduce what the prices look like in their own shop.
Yeah.
And there's also, I think, a vestigial memory for some dealers of what the prices were like 20 or 30 years ago, and they don't want to let go of that, even though the reality has changed.
Absolutely, yeah, I think that's 100% right, for sure. They kind of hold on to this idea of this is a popular, expensive book, and it's like, well, it ain't anymore,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, did you get a stack this week, Damien? I think I saw one video where you showed a mini-ish stack. It was
I got 15 new comic books, or 13 or 14 new comics. I would like to be back issue hunting, but I've stopped for the next month or so because we've had so many bills.
Yeah.
Is my internet cutting out, or?
It did previously, but it's okay now, though.
My internet's been getting really bad lately, so I apologize in advance. Yeah, I'm kind of right now more interested in back issue hunting than current issues, but we've had a lot of bills to pay recently, so I've stopped doing that for a little while.
So is that because you have some gaps that you really want to just fill, or is there some?
I think for the moment, suddenly it's more compelling to me than buying new comics.
I see, yeah.
That's exactly where I am standing.
I mean, I am trying to fill some gaps on some Kirby DC stuff, but I bought a lot of that in August, and now I've stopped for now.
What did you think of the Kirby article there in that Heavy Metal?
The writer, I guess it's the movie producer, can't write.
Not at all, hey?
The article itself is not really readable.
It was awful. He kept saying the same thing throughout the whole article. It was driving me crazy.
I don't know if you didn't already know that they had used this artwork in a sort of scam in
Yeah.
Iran, back in the hostage days, that you wouldn't understand it from this article. But
Yeah, and apparently it's that movie Argo. Apparently that's that same story, but they didn't specifically say Kirby in that movie, I think.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just Kirby. Also, there's Roger Zelazny, the person they
Yeah.
wrote based it on, is a famous author too. So it's interesting to see that book being used that way. It would have been a really hard movie to make, I would think.
Yeah. Well, and just the idea of a Kirby theme park and everything is outstanding.
That seemed crazy.
It's just incredible.
What did you? It would be cool, but
The art is something though, hey? Like the
the art is really good, and I kind of worried about that because it is Kirby when he was older, and sometimes it's not so good, but it was really excellent art.
For sure. And I mean, let's be honest, the coloring really adds to it too, right?
The coloring helps a lot. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So it would be cool to see an amusement park based on that, but very highly unlikely.
Yeah, for sure. But a nice dream though.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you look through the rest of it? Like I didn't. I kind of browsed through the rest of it. I didn't really read anything else in it.
I read about half of it, and the half I read was as dull as dishwater.
Yeah.
I should try reading the rest. I mean, I may have missed the good story in here.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the art was pretty good, but the actual stories just weren't very interesting.
No, I mean it's almost like with the amount of image and creator-owned and independent, it's almost that. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say heavy metal is irrelevant, but it's definitely not maybe as relevant as it was when it was kind of in its heyday, right or wrong?
But I agree, and I also have some old heavy metals that I've been looking through. Like, well, this is an amazing one because half of it is Mobius.
Oh, nice, yeah. That's a great cover too.
But there's a lot of the non-Mobius stuff is pretty stupid.
Oh, really? Hey.
It wasn't always great, but I mean, it was the only thing like this at the time. There's the Naked Den, Richard Corbin stuff, which just doesn't look as amazing anymore. It's got the bad typeset and.
Really, hey, I still kind of like it. It looks pretty neat.
I like it, but it just doesn't blow my mind the way it once did. Boy. So yeah, I do think it was better back then, but I do think that Image and other indies have changed the whole picture of comics.
Completely, yeah. And I mean, I wonder then, with saying all that, I wonder what Grant Morrison is going to bring to it. I mean, I imagine he's got some ideas, or he had some ideas for a long time. I imagine he's going to put his own kind of twist on it. I'm curious to see what he's going to bring to the table,
Well, in the promo material, they talked about all these artists who are his friends who he might be able to bring in, like Chris Burnham and Frank Quitely. But I wonder if he can bring in good writers, too, because maybe the problem with heavy metal, which is kind of the problem with, like, Island right now, is great artists doing their own writing. It's not terrible writing, but it's not as good as a lot of the best writers.
For sure, yeah. And honestly, I kind of hope he doesn't just bring in the Chris Burnhams and Quietly's. Like, I mean, we can see those guys in a lot of forms. I hope he uses it for maybe what it was a little more originally intended for. I'm assuming now at this point that to expose you to kind of like what Brandon Graham's trying to do with Island, expose you to these other creative people, or even with this 8 House, same thing, expose you to these people you may not know about,
Well, it'd be cool if you know some unusual artists and you know some cool writers and you bring together. I mean, that would be a good editor's job, bringing together unexpected, interesting combinations.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and that's what his kind of title is on it? He's the editor, or is he just...
I thought it said he's going to be the editor, the actual editor, but, since so many Grant Morrison writing projects never show up or take years to show up, we'll see if he actually shows up as an editor there.
Yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it, I guess.
Yeah. There was an ad in the back of one of the comics I read this week for a new Grant Morrison Claus, I guess, or Klaus. And it kind of said his all-star Santa Claus is what his kind of tagline for it was. And it's, I think, Klaus, or I don't know if it's supposed to be Santa Claus with, like, a dead deer over his shoulder and, blood on him and stuff. And I don't know, we'll see. It's kind of seemed a little comical honestly, looking at it.
I've seen a lot of different takes on Santa Claus, not in comics, but in children's literature. So I wonder if he'll have anything new to add to it.
Yeah, yeah. So was there anything that kind of jumped out at you this week from your stack there?
Well, I haven't finished reading all the comics from this week, but one which a number of people looked at called Saints.
Mm-hmm.
People thumbed through it at the store and said, "Oh, that looks like bad art," and put it back down. And I almost did the same, but I decided to buy it. And what its real problem is bad coloring. And unfortunately, in this case, it is the artist doing his own coloring, and something went wrong. Maybe this looked good on the computer screen, but it looks like mud, and you can't.
Yeah, it looks like there's kind of almost a gray wash. It's faded.
Right, it's a gray brownish wash over everything, and you have to stare really closely to see what's going on. But his art is actually good, and the story feels pretty unique. There are these people with powers who may be saints, although one of them runs a kind of satanic metal band. Another one is a clerk at a grocery store. And there's all these weird visions and stuff. So it's hard to tell exactly where this is going, but it feels moderately unique, but maybe with a little bit of a Hellblazer-ish stuff going on too.
Okay, yeah.
And with a pretty unique art style. So I think people should look for this and just get past the bad coloring.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully the coloring will get better. I mean, the coloring is fine on the cover. But inside, something went terribly wrong.
Yes, I saw it at the shop, but at that point I had such a stack of comics in my hand, I just couldn't, so I didn't even pick it up. I didn't even want to look, just in case it was one of those, I opened it up and wanted to get it, so.
So like one of these characters is a modern-day gay John the Baptist.
Uh-huh.
And whenever he opens up his shirt, all these arrows pop out. Because there's a famous painting of John the Baptist shot through with arrows. I guess he was martyred by being killed with arrows. Not John the Baptist. Saint Sebastian.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I got that all wrong. Saint Sebastian. John the Baptist was killed some other way. But I don't know who the other people are in their saint allegories. But yeah, it was surprisingly good. So this was my surprise book of the week.
Nice.
Cool.
Do you want to go back and forth on stuff you read, or?
I don't know. I guess let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum. Larasa, I guess so we don't kind of cut you out of it. Are you reading any new comics? Do you pick up any new ones?
I'm still picking up my stack.
Okay. Was there anything for you that kind of jumped out?
I don't have that book now. Somewhere I've put it away. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh, I never can say it properly. But anyway, 50 came out, and it was like really thick. It's like $7.99. Nice. It was the anniversary, well, not anniversary, but it's just like 50th issue. And that was superb from whatever page you open up and to the end. It's just, it's always such a joyful read. I know people don't like it to buy. It's like, IDW or $3.99 book. But that nostalgic feel to me still kept me because I always watched the cartoons or Turtles. Yeah. And this book is it's not just because of nostalgic feel, but they really kept keeping this book so entertaining to read. Really good storyline. Everything, whatever they wanted to put up there. It's like I was late to jump on the title, and I was reading the first trade from library, and then I found it out that there's singles. That's when they started basically picking up single issues. Mm-hmm. And from that point, the point I picked it up, the issue, I didn't really know what's happening. But then I didn't have to, because there's really good writing, superb art, plenty of action, and it's just classic for me. Turtles, what I know of Turtles, they are. So that was like 10 out of 10 for me straight away. Like, oh yes, this is it. It's just like so good. Every single page was right. Ending of the storyline was superb. So I really liked it. Really enjoyed it.
So is it more kind of, like you were saying, it's more along the lines of the TV show, not necessarily like the first series of comics?
I'm not really sure. That's the thing. I have never read the previous Turtles because, the price tag, and then I was like, I was just finding out. But because I was, watching the TV show, I was like, oh my God, there's actually a comic for Turtles. I was like really excited, so I picked it up, and I really like it. I'm not really sure actually how the Eastman before that was, as I'm not well versed in that. I have never had a chance of reading that. I would love to though, but I'm kind of a single issues person, so I would like to have those, like in single issues.
Yeah.
But so far what I've read now, I don't know what was before. It's superb, really good. Every single time it comes out, the issue, it's just spot on. It's just
nice. Well, that's always a good thing. And you said this one was like double sized. Is $7.99?
Yeah,
I
just wanted to end the story, and it wasn't rushed. It didn't feel rushed to me. It was going really nicely, and you're like, okay, there's crunch, lots of fighting. It's actually quite a good read, like in a way that it's kind of an easy read as well. And turtles and the sensei, like going at each other like with the enemy Shredder, and it was really good. Kind of tied up the whole thing where you thought why they were fighting, kind of thing. They told you the history, kind of thing. What they were creating the history was. I think they changed a couple of things in this new title. I heard from other people like Matt or Agent. I don't know his logo
Wednesday
name.
Serial Night.
Wednesday. There you go. So he's like a lot of talks about that. So I really liked watching him talk about this because he knows all the history behind it and that. So
yeah, it's one of his favorites, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's really good. Really good.
So do you just have a subscription though, right? So you just have a subscription that you get the issues, or do you? Because you were saying there's not really a place for you to go through to browse new issues. Hey, you kind of have to know before.
No. Where I'm living now, I moved about 3 years ago. Okay. Prior to that, I was living by the beach, Bournemouth, south end of the UK, and in the Pool, which is next town to where I lived, there was a comic book shop, and I still kept. I'm in contact with you, sending me books by post. So I have my Pool, as you call them, and it's all superb. If I want whatever books I want, I always get. I don't have to. He doesn't tie me up to just like I have to get that title for a period of time. If I say I don't want a title, he doesn't bother by it, and he's like, okay. So it's really I am lucky in that sense because I like when I pick up some titles I like indie books or something like that. It's like image books. If I don't like it, I just want completely cut it off. I just say I don't want it anymore, and he's like, okay, cool.
Well, that's a pretty good deal. It's probably because you're kind of a bonus customer, hey? So it's sort of a subscription, but he's probably just pulling off the shelf for you, I think, or.
Well, yeah, he owns that shop, and he's he only one. That's why I support him. He's one guy basically who owns this comic book shop, and he done that for years, 10 I think or 12, some odd years. So and I had a conversation with him because in that time I was like. I wanted to do something different, kind of. I want to actually work in comic book shop. So I said to him, I want a job there. And he's like, no. I was like, what? and he's like, well, I can't afford to have somebody else. So he has to basically work Monday to Sunday, every day.
Yeah.
I mean, a harsh environment, but he's like, he has the most amazing choice of new books. I mean, whatever I say to him, can I have that? He always have it. I was like,
no problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I get like, should I ask him? I'm not really sure if he would have it. And he's like, yeah, sure, no problems. I'll get it.
Yeah.
So he gets me everything by post. So yeah, I got
that's a good deal.
5 books in my Pool this week, and it's amazing. That's the biggest I have now. I never go above 6 or 7 per week. 5 is kind of a lot now because I actually cutting, not because I don't want to read it, but I start to become like more back issue. I like reading the old books. It's so much more enjoyable for me in sense. Like Revival, I never will drop because I started from the beginning. I want to end that story. I love the creative team. So there's a couple of books I'm gonna keep it, but I'm really becoming very picky because of the price tag. Like it doesn't help when you get Doctor Strange and it's $4.99.
Yeah.
And that's why I have a.
That was $5? Oh god.
Yeah. So did you not get it, Damien? You didn't pick it up?
Well, I will be getting it. I have a mail subscription from Marvel, so I paid like $26 to get 12 issues.
Oh wow!
I did it. And I heard you talk about it, and I was a little bummed from what I heard you say, Terrence.
Yeah. What did you think of it, Larasa, as another Doctor Strange fan? What were your thoughts? Did you read it?
I loved it.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, that's good.
It was good. was like, it had a note of kind of like, it was easy kind of going read. I mean, it's Jason Aaron, and I like his writing. It's really easy to follow. It did kind of introduce, kind of told us a backstory of Doctor Strange, who he was prior, how he got his powers and stuff like that. But really, like really small tidbit. Actually, nothing really amazing of saying like, oh, like it was a long read to know what Doctor Strange is all about. And then there was plenty of action. The artist Baccello was, it's kind of too cartoony in some ways, because his faces are very kind of manga-esque, as people talk. But the action scenes was superb. A bit muddled when he was coming to the creatures, because Doctor Strange got in trouble. And there's end to the book, which I really liked. I mean, I kind of want to know what's happening, but hopefully the price tag will be not that, I hope. If it is, I'm fortunately going to drop it, because I don't want to pay $5 for an issue of, you know.
Yeah, if it stays that price, I don't think I'll be getting it. Like, you know, it's funny, when I first looked through it, I had one thought of like, I'm not so sure, and then I read it, it's like, that's not so bad. Now that it's Saturday, I'm back to kind of like, I don't know what I thought. For me, the art was a little, like, I just watched somebody else, I'm blanking on his name, talk about the book, and he was showing some of the interiors, and I was back to like, man, that looks like a mess inside there. There's so much happening. What I did like, I loved the way that he did approach the backstory with like that first page. I thought that breakdown was a really nice way to deal with it, as far as like leads you into the story. You get a little bit of taste. I think they even reproduced, or I don't know if it was recreated, some of the Ditko art for the background and stuff. It was a very cool way to do it, but I'm having a hard time separating my enjoyment of Doctor Strange to worry that the movie and the series are going to ruin that image. I'm that guy now, where I have this I've kind of got this love of the character that I know anyway, that I don't want him to mess with, and I'm trying to let that go, because I'm really trying to be open to, hey, let's have somebody else's voice. But at the end of the day, I didn't really like that he was kind of portrayed as this ladies' man. I didn't really like that he had this kind of comic tone to his dialogue and things. It worried me a little. It's not that I disliked it. I enjoyed it enough while I was reading it with Mr. Tom, but I worry about those things, and I'm trying my best to separate those two, and just kind of, because I love Jason Aaron as a writer as well too, and I'm excited that he's going to be taking this over, but I still have to try to disassociate myself a little bit from those kind of fanboy ideals, you know. So.
Well, for me, I'm not the person who like worries about the movies. I mean, I like the characters, like, you know, whatever, you know. I like Steve, because Stephen Strange for me is the character, like the mystic part of him. You know, he's all the magic and that, and I like the way he's representing himself. Not in here. I'm not saying, I'm not talking about the book in here. But then I looked and I read in here. I was really like, okay, let's just, you know, let's think the way you know, what they're gonna get there, and because maybe I trust, you know, the writer. I know Marvel, they has editors, and they probably will tell him what to do and stuff like that. But always been capable of writing something, and it was enjoyable enough for me to kind of follow the character in. I didn't like this like oh yeah, I'm a ladies' man and stuff like. I understand where you come from with that, but a bit of the relaxation in the story was actually quite pleasant to read in a way. I was like, well, the child would be like, you know, the kids or teenagers would read this book actually would probably enjoy it, because it had that kind of side of like seriousness, like there's a bit seriousness in there, and then just a little bit of that laughter, kind of like smile on your face kind of thing. So
yeah, for sure. And I mean, Mr. Tom really liked it. He thought it was great. He's excited about it. So that'll be great to read it with him. I think that's part of my thing too. I don't trust the editors and people higher up, especially when they're dealing with a property that's going to be a movie, and it's going to be something that, you know, is going to join that whole world where I'm assuming they make an ass load of money from the movies. So I don't trust the higher ups that they're going to let him kind of have free reign. As good of a writer as he is, I think they're probably going to restrain him. Oh, hello.
Say hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Did you want to show them what you've been reading lately?
I just need.
Is it over there?
Let's see what you got.
She has some very fancy hardbacks from Dark Horse. Here, come over.
Really, hey? Are these books taken out from the library or stuff that you bought?
hold it up so they can see it on the
I will. I'm
camera.
just trying to find this page.
We've lost your image there for a sec.
Is it back? Are we back?
Keep talking and let's see.
B is thumbing through the comic, or Quacking Duck is thumbing through the comic. What it is here. Let's hold it up. We need to hold it higher, Bugaloo. Can you guys see us now?
Yeah.
This is called The Courageous Princess, and it's by this awesome writer-artist named Rod Espinoza. Almost everything he does is for kids, so he's pretty much unknown outside of the kids' comics. So do you want to tell them a little bit about what happens to the Courageous Princess?
You tell about the story, and I show some pictures.
Okay, there's a princess named Princess Mabel.
Mabel Rose.
Mabel Rose, and she lives in the 100 Kingdoms, in one of the small kingdoms of the 100 Kingdoms, and she gets kidnapped by a enormous evil dragon. And then she has to escape the dragon and travel through the 100 Kingdoms. And meanwhile, her father is off searching for her through the 100 Kingdoms, and they both have adventures. And they come to all kinds of places that are a little bit like various fairy tales or Oz and things like that.
Oh, that looks great, yeah.
And there's 3 volumes. We just got the 3rd volume, which we haven't read yet. Here, Bugaloo.
And sorry, was this library pickups or did you buy these?
No, we bought them.
Oh, okay.
They're $20 a volume without a discount, but we got, the 45% discount. So
that's not bad. Wow.
Wow, that's very good.
Hold it up. There you go. Can you guys see?
Wow, that's really good.
I think, even adults who like fairy tale-based stories may enjoy these.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very high-quality hardbacks. You know how sometimes they do a higher quality job on kids' hardbacks than grown-ups.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
The Dark Horse is very good with the hardbacks.
Right. Dark Horse is also very good. So they got great binding, and they have these really nice embossed covers and the like.
I'm showing the embossed covers.
So what was your favorite part about the books there at Quacking Duck? What was your favorite part?
Another favorite of ours that we've been reading.
Oh yeah.
With our copies.
I'm gonna. How about you talk about this story again?
So the Silver Surfer's been really great for us to read together, partially because of the inclusion of Dawn Greenwood, the character who wears the ladybug-like outfit. And B really likes the cosmic stuff that goes on here, and
I think it's really funny.
And the byplay between the characters.
Yeah, it's one of our favorites.
When you were talking about Doctor Strange, I was thinking of the Silver Surfer. If you wanted the old Stan Lee Silver Surfer, you'd be very disappointed with this because he's a little goofier and less noble. And
it's true. And it's exactly the thoughts that I had.
As a and kids can relate to that well, but it all and I enjoy it, but it is not the same. There's maybe a side of Marvel where they take their characters and make them a little, because the characters have been around so long, they kind of make fun of them a little bit.
For sure, yeah.
I feel like they did that with Thor too, at least the male Thor. He became kind of goofier and someone you took less seriously than you did in the older Thors.
For sure, and I mean, at the end of the day, they're trying to appeal to a new audience too, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of but there, Marvel always had a bit of a wink and a nudge to the audience, but it's a different way of doing the wink and the nudge to the audience.
Yeah.
We're a little more savvy than the characters themselves are. We can see their flaws and weaknesses easily.
Mm-hmm. That's one of our favorite books around here too, Quacking Duck. We love Silver Surfer.
Terrence has a son a few years older than you, and they read a lot of comics together.
I love the Comic Crack. It's so great.
Do you want to show them this also, Bugaloo? Another one you like?
Bizarro.
Does anyone else read Bizarro? It's a 6-issue miniseries currently going on.
Yeah, I heard you guys talking about it.
Jimmy Olsen and Bizarro are on a road trip around the United States. They're looking for Bizarro America, which is Canada, but they seem to get nowhere near Bizarro America. And Jimmy Olsen, and it's done in almost like a Mad Magazine style in the way the artwork is, and and all kinds of just jokes on the DC universe. In this issue that Bee's showing you, they meet Jonah Hex's great-great-grandniece, who's a bounty hunter. And then they meet ghosts of Jonah Hex and other people.
That looks pretty good.
The most recent issue had Zatanna, and Bizarro is even better at backwards magic than Zatanna because of all his backwards abilities, and he steals magic. And then he turns Jimmy Olsen into Jim Zarro, and Bizarro gets turned into a regular person.
Can I show you Jim Zarro?
She really likes Jim Zarro.
Yes, please do. We'd love to see him.
Yeah.
Jim Zarro.
As you guys have been watching my channel, I've been struggling over the years to find good kids comics, and they've gotten a lot better in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and there's
over the course of the last 4 years, they've gotten a lot better with
sure.
Silver Surfer, the Bizarro, some other ones, and of course Lumberjanes.
Yeah.
As mermaids this issue.
Okay, hold it up a little more.
How much do you love that one? Is that one fantastic?
A bit.
Well, did you like this issue a little less than before?
Yeah.
The creative team changed this issue, and we definitely noticed the difference.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it's not like we'll stop reading it. But this issue featured a punk rock mermaid band, which should have been good, but didn't click so well. And then we still kind of reread some of our Archies, and we'll eventually get the rebooted Archie. So this is a cool homage Archie that we just read the other day. Homage meaning the cover's an homage to EC Comics.
That's a great cover, yeah.
It's Cosmo the Merry Martian, but it's actually just an issue where Archie and Jughead fly off and join a group that's much like the Guardians of the Galaxy. So I think that's the end of our Quacking Duck segment.
Nice, very nice.
There will be a little bit more quacking.
She says there will be a little bit more Quacking Duck.
Oh, okay.
She's off camera right now.
We'll be ready.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I think we interrupted in the middle of talking about current comics that La Raza's reading.
Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. That's awesome. Quacking Duck is more
Did you get
important.
Paper Girls? I thought I saw that in your stack on Twitter.
Yeah, I have that. I have a problem
it?
with the end. I told you on the tweet. The end just bothered me so much. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to. Do we spoil it?
Spoil it, whatever. They were talking about it on the
Spoilers
Hangout
ahead,
last night.
everyone. You mean the final page where we see an Apple device?
Well, that's completely got me like, oh no, I don't want to see that. I really don't. I don't want to see that in the comics. I mean, the one of the main character, the girl who smokes, her name is Mac. It's like iMac.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
And then they have apple. They eating the apple at the beginning of the story with that angel, and then at the end we discover that that alien, whatever Alienware, which is a Mac. So what does that mean? It's an Apple product they found.
I assume that aliens or whatever they are time travelers also.
Yeah, and then I was like, I really like the future. Yeah, I like the flow of the comic. I liked it, everything in the beginning. Everything was kind of, interesting in a way for me to see if I wanted to read it more. And I'm probably gonna give a chance because it's $2.99 book, which is very easy. Yeah. But a part of that, the end of it was like just spoiled it for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being.
It's so funny. No, I don't think you're being at all. It's funny because last night when I was watching them talk about it on the comic chat there, they all commented on how amazed they were with that last page. I read it and I was like, I don't really see what's so amazing. I enjoyed the book. It's not saying that I didn't enjoy the book. And $2.99 again. That was the main reason because again it was just such a heavy week. If it would have been more expensive, I probably would have passed on it. But I think it'll be a fun little read. But yeah, I mean, the last page didn't blow my mind either. I suppose it's like, oh, that's interesting. We'll see what happens. But it didn't that wasn't the thing that drew me into like, oh, I've got to keep reading it, Damien, what did you think there?
Yeah, it felt overall a bit Hollywood trite. And it kind of like when we've talked, it's by Brian K. Vaughan, and we've talked about his, what's it called? We Stand Guard. Yeah. And we're waiting for the other shoe to drop there. I mean, that has a lot more unique stuff going on already, but we're we're waiting for like, what is this really about, kind of.
Mm.
And is this really just about girls who are brave and strong and adventurous and are going to have an adventure, and they're bad cops and bad boys? You know, it's kind of just so. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no edges or angles there at all.
The dream sequence at the beginning of those few first pages, I loved it straight away. I was like, oh, this is actually really
That's true. That's the best part of the whole book.
I agree.
I was like,
100%.
the tone of the book straight away, the coloring was really good, and you know, you kind of felt like she was. I wasn't really sure at the beginning was she in the dream or not, but kind of felt like straight away because of the mood, you know, what she's seeing, and you know, and that, you know, and the way she felt about it afterwards when she woke up and she just looked down and see her sister is okay. I love that. And then afterwards, then they went to that, you know, paper round, whatever they're doing, this paper girl stuff, what they had to do, and then I just lost there. It's like, okay, that wasn't okay.
Yeah, the thing I loved about the dream, like it really brought you into it, but it also kind of, and that's where I have a little bit of faith that maybe there's something, because it showed kind of a darker underside. Because and Matt just, I'm kind of seeing on my phone, Matt is watching, and he said it didn't kind of strike him either. But I did have a thread. Sorry. Just that it didn't seem like much. And then back to this, We Stand on Guard. I heard yesterday, maybe I knew it already, that it was only a 6-issue miniseries, and maybe that other shoe dropping just isn't going to happen, and it is going to be what it is, which is kind of surprising to me, because one of the things that's so good about some of Brian K. Vaughan's writing is that he can work within these kind of stereotypes and these genres and these kind of restrictions or boundaries, I guess, if you want to call them that, and do something unique with them. But if there's no shoe that drops in this last 2 issues as We Stand on Guard, it's not going to be a memorable series. If this doesn't take kind of a turn in the next issue or two, I don't think I have the faith to follow it through for however long this is going. Is this a mini-series as well, or?
I don't know. I have a feeling it is, but I just don't know.
I don't really know either.
Paper Girls, yeah.
I need to use the bathroom.
Okay, I'll be up here. So, yeah, my one question is that, I really like the dream. If the dream really is important, I hope it is. Otherwise, it's also a ripoff to put this really cool dream at the beginning of a story and have no reason for it.
Totally.
I guess I didn't know what they're gonna do. I know there's gonna be time travel. Well, there you go. That's it. But then afterwards, I was like, where else? Because the main character, the girl who was in that dream, I don't know, I forgot her name already. But I like her as a character. I think she has. That's the thing. I had a good feel for her. Other ones were like kind of okay. They were like teenagers who were rebelling, kind of thing. They are strong females, which is awesome. At the end of the day, they represent girl power, kind of thing. But I don't know what's gonna be after that. After that last page, will I be interested in that kind of thing? I'm not sure if they're gonna continue that road. If the end page will be like that. But of course, I'm gonna give it a try, because Brian K. Vaughan still interests me as a writer, because he does write really great stuff. Although I dropped Saga. I'm gonna go trade weight. It's not enough for me
trade weighting makes sense on that at this point.
Yeah. So I was like, it's not, because I dropped it when it was issue 28 on Saga, and I was like, oh no, I have to pick up number 30, so I know I have 30 issues there. I'm kind of have to have end to a storyline, and then I can pick up the trade. So, and then I like just writing, and that's why I dropped the Saga in singles because I can have a wait. And if this is ongoing, I probably will drop it as well, wait for trades, just to have that, because I'm interested what it is going to be there. But it depends.
Well, it also, the other thought that occurred to me with this one is that it seems like everybody has bought this issue. It feels like it's that Brian K. Vaughan series where you should buy a couple of first issues and wait a couple of months. You know what I mean? And that's such a horrible way to think about it, but it feels like it's that kind of reception. That everybody's really excited about it, and it has this buzz already about it, even though it just came out. So I don't know. $2.99 for such a thick book is a fantastic thing. That's for damn sure.
I love that.
I love the art. The coloring is amazing. Matt Wilson is one of my favorite colorists now, so it's great. I was really excited to see him on this, actually.
What else has he
That
done?
will keep me going for quite a while. If it is a long series, I might at the end of an arc, decide to trade weight at that point.
Yeah.
Just probably
that's-
becoming a new pattern for me, looking for ends of arcs and trying to decide whether to trade weight at that point.
Yeah.
That's not a bad strategy. Yeah, I think it definitely needs a couple of more issues to kind of see what it's going to be like. Gore Vidal is watching. I can't access I pushed the link on my phone to see if I could see the comment.
I can see his comment. You
Oh,
want
you
me to
can?
see his comment?
Yeah, if you want to see if there's anything new commented.
Well, he says, what a wonderful motley crew. And then he talks about, I guess he's talking about Iron Man. I was disappointed with the youthful hipster Tony Stark-like character. Oh, no, maybe he's talking about
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Tony Stark-like character, and with the Doom storyline that made me think about the film Men in Black and Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. We've seen this before. It's interesting that now he is a player, because in the early years, the good doctor practiced his Hippocratic oath when it came to women. Do no harm. He didn't kiss Clea until Doctor Strange 174.
No.
He was quite sexless until then.
On the physical plane, maybe the astral plane might have been something.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of
Who knows?
possibilities there at the astral plane.
Yeah.
It could be quite an astral plane stalker.
He could be some sort of creep. So since we've hit kind of like a middle ground, was there anything that that you guys just didn't like this week? Like, let's go right to the nitty gritty. Let's not praise everything. Let's tear something apart.
I haven't. I have two more issues. I mean, I have two of this left to read, which I haven't read it yet. I didn't have a chance. Seven Bastards, which I'm considering to drop because I want trade weight. Copperhead, I like it, the premise of it. I know there's a gaps between them, like quite significant. But somehow this book is every single time I pick it up, I cannot stop. I wanted to wait. I don't mind. I'm that kind of person. Funny enough, I can wait.
Yeah.
But for a saga kind of thing, because the way the premise is of the storyline, it's just I just get lost in that because I can wait kind of thing, and I get like, oh my god, I know what's going on again. So yeah, but I
Saga for
don't
me
know any
reads
books
really
to
well
talk
as
about.
single issues, just because it has that kind of like serial soap opera-y feel. I like reading it just in those singles. I enjoy the weight. It doesn't bother me too much. I find I don't have I always have a little bit of an issue with remembering what happened in previous issues, but I think that's just more a me thing. That's not necessarily a writing thing. But I kind of enjoy it that way. But for other things, I agree with you, like Southern Bastards, eventually that's going to be a trade for me. I have the first couple of issues. I haven't followed it since issue 3 or 4, because some of the stuff, like you said, I can totally wait. I have no problem waiting to read it all in a chunk,
Well, the Seven Bastards, I was the previous issue, which was number 10. I was like, oh, but before I read it, I said, like, I'm dropping this. I read it issue 10. I was like, oh, no, I have to wait to see what's going to happen next issue. Because, like, oh, my God, what? So, kind of thing that I struggle with Saga the same way.
Yeah.
I get to the point where, because I am kind of, as I say now, I like new issues. I like pick up something new and discover new things. But back issues became such a thing for me, like that. There's so many back stories there was before this that it's good stories to read, and you have to kind of time issues. I can probably spend it, but I was like thinking, okay, I spend money, then you're gonna just stand there, wait for me to be read. So that's why I was like, okay, maybe it's time to say no. Let's wait, get your trades, and then get up to scratch when you have time.
Yeah.
So that became more harsh.
Yeah, for sure, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, got to be critical. Not everything is gold. So, Damien, let's hear it. Which was your least favorite?
Yeah.
Well, of stuff that just came out this week, it would have to be Grant Morrison's 18 Days, and it was just boring.
Yeah.
Even though it takes place in the biggest battle of the universe, based on the Mahabharata. But I read some stuff that wasn't from this week, like Thor's number 3. I thought was really poor.
Yeah.
The first 2 issues were quite good, and that most of it's this long, dumb interrogation with Loki, Loki and Ultimate Thor, and then I can't even remember what happened after that, but it just.
Yeah, I picked that up as well.
It just seems falling flat. I wonder if it's just they're rushing to get through, this and get back to their regular Marvel stuff. At first, I had pretty high hopes for it.
Yeah.
But
After
I
reading
get this
the
through a
first issue,
subscription in the mail, so I will be getting
Oh,
every
yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then
I didn't buy it from issue 1 for that one. Like I
Oh.
didn't like the premise right from the get-go, so we never picked any up. This whole kind of police squad of Thors, just I don't know, it just right from the get-go didn't work for me.
it was fun for me for the first 2 issues, but then it felt like it was buying time. Were you reading
Yeah,
it too, Larasa?
Yeah. I get the first issue. I love the first issue. I like the way he went for it, like whatever happened in that situation in the first issue. Second one was good, but this one was just like completely flat. It's like bored. I'm bored. Why I'm bored? I like Jason Aaron's writing. It's just like keep on flipping, and it was that, as I say, interrogation felt really long, even though Marvel book feels like really quick to read. That felt really long. Too much dialogue, maybe. Nowhere to go. You're just looking at each other saying, "Oh, I know what you feel about it," and then I know what you feel about it. It's like, okay, that once it's enough, but not twice or 3 times. But then, yeah.
And
Nothing
the
moving
art
forward.
was really poor, even though both the pencilers working on it I've normally liked in the past.
Mm.
And the color's been pretty awful in Thor's all along, actually.
Yeah.
How many issues left of this?
I
Is it
believe
one?
there's just one more issue, so it's kind of weird in a 4-issue series they'd have one issue just be kind of filler. At the end of issue 3 it says to be concluded.
Oh, there you go. Yes. So
so
yeah, I'll pick that up just to tie that, to see how he's gonna end that storyline, because interesting in that sense.
The other thing that I read this week that really fell flat for me, it's probably from a couple months ago, but I just bought it a while ago, Judge Dredd magazine.
Mm-hmm.
I was all excited, to read something you can't normally get here. And the art is really cool. Like this black and white story at the end was really incredible art, but I've decided whatever their writing approach is, I just don't get or I don't like. It seems like there's no characterization at all. It's just things happening. And I really have trouble with that. Because I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll get this magazine on a regular basis. But now it seems like it might be a waste of money.
Yeah.
Or maybe I should try a few more issues. Maybe I would get into the groove of the Judge Dredd style of writing. Do you ever read this stuff, Larasa?
I don't pick up magazine type of books as like Judge Dredd. I read Judge Dredd when I was getting from library to read, just to find out about the character, because I really like the character. But apart of that, no, I never actually got interested in actually getting a magazine monthlies.
Is that a serialized story in there too, or is it a bunch of stories?
It's a bunch of serialized stories. So I was getting chapters of a bunch of stories. And 3 of them, one is Judge Dredd, and then 2 others are about other judges, and then one of them was like a supernatural story, and I guess there was one other I can't recall at the moment. The art is really interesting, and it's not like what is being done in most U.S. comics.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I feel like maybe it's a U.S. thing for everything to be about character and character arcs and that kind of thing.
Well,
or maybe I'm just missing it.
I've read a couple of magazines, like sometimes I have a friend who actually picks up all of it, like 2000 AD, Judge Dredd. He's likes all those British magazines of the comic side, and he gave me a couple to read. I got lost as well, like you say, like you picked up one. And I asked him, is it something like, is it how the story goes? Well, he says it goes from the issue when they release one, and it goes quite a long way till whatever they suppose ending it. So I'm not sure. I'm really not sure about this magazine. I've never seen it actually before you showing it.
Huh, funny, since it's only in Britain.
Yeah.
Well, because I don't have, as I say, I don't have comic book shop around. No, in those places where you can buy your newspapers and stuff.
Newsstands or that, like.
Yeah, newsstands. I've never spotted them either.
One thing that kind of totally surprised me, I now realize the Judge Dredd world takes place in the continental America.
Oh.
I thought it was in England. But
yeah, I always assumed it was as well.
So I think like the current Judge Dredd story in this issue was in Mexico, actually.
Huh.
Judge Dredd is visiting, some futuristic version of Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Other things are in other parts of the North American continent. So very strange to me.
Yeah. just to kind of interject quickly, I think my biggest disappointment this week was the last Surface Tension.
Oh yeah, I heard you talking about that.
Issue 5 of this 5-issue miniseries, which is an odd number. Man, I had such high hopes because the first 3 were so good. This one was just so it's kind of the classic everything that can go wrong with writing, where you state every last little thought and leave nothing up to our imagination, was in this one book. It was so heavy-handed that it made me groan literally out loud a number of times. I'm so disappointed because I really was championing it for the first few issues because it was so great and so unique. The art is still fantastic, and I think, like I was saying in that video the other night, it's his first kind of series, so if he did do anything else, I would completely buy it. It's so kind of disappointing when a nice packaged small mini-series just kind of just loses focus. I don't quite know what happened. It seemed to just he all of a sudden got preachy where he wasn't in the previous issues, and even so far in the previous issues of making a point of almost having characters say that it's not so cut and dry as the earth is trying to cleanse us, that sort of thing. He kind of just went full on for like, let's just make this that kind of ending. It was really, really disappointing. I'm, very sad to see that happen. But I would pick up other stuff from him because there was so much else going for it. And like I said, his artwork and coloring is pretty mind-boggling. His imagination on some of these creatures that are in here are really fantastic. So hopefully he does something else again. But
yeah, I tried to get when you were talking the first two issues about the Surface. I was like actually interested. I kind of wanted to know because I was interested in the premise when you were talking about it. So I called my comic book guy, asked if he has it, and he said he doesn't do many Titan books, even though he's in UK, because he's not selling much. He says I don't see people coming and asking me for it. So he's like, even though he has such an array of books, I was like surprised to even hear him saying that because he usually has so many, such a wide choice.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was like, okay, then I'm going to look somewhere else.
And looking through that catalog, honestly, for the most part, the ones that piqued my interest were graphic novels or collections that they're releasing. A bunch of they kind of show some samples and have a little mini write-up of the continuing series that are going on. A lot of those didn't really appeal to me. It was more the collections they have coming out that looked the most interesting. I mean, I'm curious. I just don't see them around a lot. I would like to see some of these in my store, kind of just so I could thumb through them and see them. But yeah, it's strange that it exists for I don't know how long. I'm assuming it's not exactly a brand new company, right? A couple of years, I imagine.
I think it's been around for quite a while, but
yeah,
I don't know for sure. But it seems like they don't know how to promote their single issues at all. So they're under the radar too much.
Well, hopefully now that they're in previews and everything, hopefully that does something for them over here. Right. So. Yeah.
I mean, well, for me, I hear about things either through these various comic book websites or other people have read about them on comic book websites and are mentioning them on YouTube or on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's how everybody in the world finds out about comic books, but it seems
that's to probably quite a few, though, I imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like I never read previews. I mean, because I get books by post. I'm not going to have a posting. I know price for the postage for me will be like unbearable to actually think about getting that kind of size of the book just for me to flip what to come. I was like, no way. So I never actually. Most YouTube and you guys, whoever I'm subscribed to or watching, that's just the guys who tell me what's interesting. Like Roundtable, they talk about lots of stuff like comics and what's going to come up and what they are really curious about. That's basically my information.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, like Paper Girls kind of thing. I've never even. I mean, even though I follow, like, I read Saga and stuff like that, kind of heard about it, but never knew what is written about. So I was like, okay. And then I heard you guys talk about it, and they were looking forward to it. It's like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. So I'm gonna pick it up and see how it is. So yeah, that's how I do it most of the times.
I just saw. I can't see the whole comment, but. Ghost Critic, I think, is here or was watching. He was asking about the Vertigo title, that Survivors Club. Did you pick up the Vertigo?
I'm gonna trade weight on that because of the
Yeah.
price, and I don't know.
The cover sure didn't strike me as anything. Larasa, did you grab it?
No, I haven't because the prices, as I say now, I'm really picky.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, I'm sure you guys know, you know the Twilight Children? Is that by Darwin Cook?
Oh, I don't know.
There's one by Darwin Cook and one of those Love and Rockets brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gilbert.
Hernandez. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I
Yeah.
really want to make myself trade weight on that, but that's going to be really hard to resist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All of Vertigo are now $3.99, and I feel like it just makes more sense to pick them up in trades because they're all written for trade anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I may give in for the Darwin Cook one.
Yeah,
Is that the Twilight Children?
I think that might be what it's called. I don't remember the title of it, but it's definitely a Vertigo book by those two creators, Gilbert and
It's a minion, isn't it?
Darwin Cook.
yeah.
I'm not really sure. Anyway, so I was like looking at couple of Vertigo titles coming out, like Gail Simone is writing one as well, which I forgot. And
Right, hers is called like Clean Room. That one sounded good.
yeah, and another one was with Greg Rucka. Was Greg Rucka writing Vertigo title as well, or? Oh wait, no, I'm confusing. Sorry.
Rucka has an Image title coming out.
Yeah, he has a new title coming out. A detective with Nicola Scott.
Right.
The detective storyline. I think there was one in the one issues. I saw a preview. I actually really liked the art.
It was black. Was it black and white art from Nicola Scott?
Yeah, kind of grayish tone to it. Yeah, very detailed, Nicola Scott style kind of thing. So, yeah.
I saw sorry, I'm distracted by that for a second there. I did see the Vertigo preview comic on the shelf. I didn't get it. Maybe I should pick it up to kind of read about it. The Darwin Cook one, that sounds like something I would completely grab, yeah.
I think it's coming out next week.
Next week or next month?
Next week, this coming week, Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think it's coming out.
Damien, I read this, where is it? This From Under the Mountains.
Yeah.
I was curious, like I was excited to see it and pick it up. I love the cover and I liked some of the art in it. I don't know, I think you put it the best in your video of just the tone of it and the way that it was written. And it's funny though, like one of the thoughts that I had, because the other thing, the one comic that blew me away this week was this The Spire. I read issue number 2 and issue number 3 because I realized I didn't read the second issue yet.
Right.
And the thing that struck me, like the comparison with those two, whereas like From Under the Mountains, it seemed to, hey, let's introduce you to this world. Hey, let's say all the names of all the different territories we have. Let's talk about all these things that are unique to this world, and kind of like, it almost seemed like they were forcing this world on you a little bit, whereas The Spire takes place in this very unique world as well, but the way that it's revealed is much more natural. It's just kind of, as they're traveling through and going through the story, you're getting exposed to these people that you're getting a little bit of a sense of that'll eventually be fleshed out. That seemed to be like my biggest issue from this From Under Mountains.
Yeah, Spire plunges you into the story. Everything's very active and exciting.
Yeah.
From Mountains almost was like someone's laying out the cards, like if it were story cards. Here's the thief. Here's the princess. Here's the hero, or the fallen hero, and they're just there. There's no story yet. And they're all
having the map and everything.
Types in my mind. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. No, and then at the end having the map to lay out the world and everything, it just really seemed a little forced as far as like, here's the weird names that we've come up with. This set of islands is called someone's necklace or something because it looks like a necklace and all this kind of thing. It just seemed a little kind of, I don't know, maybe hokey's not the right word, but it seemed a little too much, which is too bad. I was curious about it because the people, this Churchland being involved, I had a little bit of high hopes.
I like her art a lot.
Yeah.
I think they're relative beginners in terms of writing compared to Simon Spurrier, who's writing Spire, or and I think that's the flaw now in my mind of the Brandon Graham verse, as I'm thinking of the sort of group of people and comics that cluster around Brandon Graham. Other than he himself, there's something about them, they're not quite ready for prime time as writers as much as he is.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll probably get issue 2 of From Under Mountains and see if it gets a little better, and if it does, I'll probably stick with it because I do like something about it.
Yeah.
But if it's like this issue, I'll probably drop it at that point.
Yeah, and I think it's based mainly around like the look of it. Even just looking at the front cover, I know it's a different artist inside, but it's, I don't know, there's something about this style of art that just really appeals to me. Or I think I say that, but I think it's a different artist inside than the cover.
It is a different artist.
Yeah, because I think it's Churchland on the front, right? And
Churchland is on the front cover, and she was one of the story creators, but she was not the actual scripter. So there's separate artists and scripter who are not Churchland in it.
Yeah, that's right. This Sloan Leung, art and colors, and stories from Claire Gibson.
So yeah.
Yeah. But The Spire, man, I'm really enjoying that book, especially reading those couple back to back. I love the look of it. I love the world, some of the ideas that are coming out, and you know, there's enough of a story each issue that you feel like you're getting a complete story where it's not just a build up to, hey, let's wait till next issue, which sometimes can be a bit of a trap to all lead up to a cliffhanger. But I'm really, really liking it. It's really impressing me.
So just to ask, what's the story behind The Spire? What is it all about?
Sort of like a murder mystery so far. I mean, in as much as that, but it's also about this kind of world that they're involved in, where there's something about the air outside their kind of terraformed section of this planet, whatever it is, that's you have to wear a mask because of it hasn't been fully explained. That's kind of what I also like about it. It's not like this is the Earth 100 years from now. We can't breathe the air because of what we've done to it, which is how it would be written in Surface Tension. We've created this world, and now we have to suffer. You know, so we don't really know. We just know that there's certain areas where the people that live in them have to wear gas masks the whole time. There's some magic elements involved. There's some kind of spiritual elements involved. But at the heart of it, it's a murder mystery, and this main female character is kind of on this police force, and it's kind of the whole society is set up as a tiered society, whereas the kind of poorer people live on a certain level of this world, and the rich people live on higher levels, and that sort of thing. So it's a very unique concept, and like I say, the art is really just top notch. It's really top notch, and the coloring is just so fantastic. So it's one to hunt for if you see it.
Yeah, I read Sly's previous stuff like Bodies, the mini from Vertigo. I like this writing, the way he wrote. So, but you know, as I say, I'm so picky now. I don't really look at the new titles anymore, kind of thing. Well, kind of pick what I want to kind of sounds like interesting to me before I pick anything else. So, yeah, that sounds
interesting. It might be a good one to trade weight on, I think. I mean, you know, unless you're looking to pick up another issue for your stack, I'd highly recommend it. But it also, I think it would read just as well in a trade. So.
Right, maybe even better. Like you said, you enjoyed it more 2 issues in a row.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just a 6-issue mini.
How is it? Oh,
it's also one you can probably find for $1, you know, 2 years from now.
Yeah, more than likely. Yeah.
Because it's never going to be a hot book or anything.
Yeah, that's. Well, that's good. So it's only mini, so yeah, definitely gonna wait.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
Well, and all of it just kind of feeds into this idea, like we were talking about, maybe heavy metal not being as relevant when there's so much quality out there now. It's hard to kind of justify some of that, but I mean, it really does feel sometimes reading stuff like this that it's going to be something that's just going to stick with me and hopefully other people as well for a long time to come, as kind of like not quite a golden era, but definitely a memorable era of just great writing and great little miniseries and great companies just putting out some interesting books, you know, or interesting alternatives to Marvel, DC, and even Image, because I mean this is a Boom Studios one, so.
Right. Well, it seems like when you have good writers who can go back to the indie comics and bring in artists with all these different styles,
Yeah.
you get something interesting happening that you didn't
Yeah.
get in such large amounts in the past.
Mm-hmm.
My two favorite books of recent weeks are probably Kaiju Max and Nameless. I don't think they came out this past week, but I know you like Nameless a lot. And
Oh man, I loved that issue too. Are you reading that one, Larasa?
No.
Oh man.
I mean, I keep on you both of you talk about Nameless, and I think Ghost Trick Mark.
Yeah.
He does talk about that
he
as
made
well.
it his book of the month.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. You know, I like kind of Grant Morrison's take on some stuff. Like I read from him. It's a digestion reading. I call Grant Morrison thing. You know, I read it. I have to think about it. Like,
Yeah,
did I read
absolutely.
that exactly what he was saying to me? And then I go back, kind of think, flip through again. Art helps me a lot when kind of thing, because it's just so kind of, I don't know where he goes at something. So it sounds interesting, that though. I'm kind of regretting not getting it. Well, I guess I get played.
It's also a mini-series, I think.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like one, but I've read that it is one.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, Larasa's been saying she can't buy a lot of books every month, and so many of these will be great in trade anyway.
Yeah.
I'm trying to push Kaiju Mac in trade. That'll be coming out soon. I think in a $10 trade.
Oh,
for
yeah.
the first 6 issues.
Who's that? Who's the releasing publisher?
By Xander Cannon, who's most well known for his work on Top 10 with Alan Moore years ago.
Okay.
He's mostly done indie comics since then. He has not done a whole lot of Marvel and DC, a little bit.
And who's the publisher?
Oni Press.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a $4 book, and it's one of those ones where I make an exception to my $4 rule. But now that I know it's going to be in a $10 trade, I feel a little bummed.
Well, definitely check it out for $10.
The trade is going to be really good. It is just, it looks like a kid's book, but it's very much a grown-up's book. But you have to sort of like Godzilla and Japanese kind of kaiju stuff.
Which I do, yes.
But it's turned into a totally an adult book.
I like Japanese stuff anyway. I like Wayward. You know, that Wayward you're reading as well, Damon, aren't you?
Yes, I've just been binging on Wayward digitally.
Yeah. So
I read
I like
2 or 3
that.
issues at a time, and really like that a lot.
That should be something.
Yeah, no, Ghost Critic was right in making that Nameless the book of the month, though. There's something just, I mean, so creepy about that issue. And, I mean, the whole series so far has had just such a great kind of horrific undertone throughout. I don't know, I love it. I really, really like it.
How many issues has been out already? So I'm just wanting to
5.
see. Oh, so the trade will be after 6, isn't it? Is that how
6 or 7, I'm thinking, is the end of the series, supposedly. I don't know, though.
Okay.
It's hard. It just feels like there's at least like 6 or 7 more issues. Maybe it'll
Yeah,
be
it should.
trade.
Yeah, it feels like that should be a 12-issue series, if anything.
And that's the premise is like astronauts going somewhere and exploring something, or am I right?
Yeah, I mean, to really reduce it, you could say it's Hellraiser in outer space or something.
Yeah.
Whoa, see?
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds like something.
But in such a unique Grant Morrison way, and with such incredible Chris Burnham art that it feels like its own
That's
thing.
another thing that's like I really like Chris Burnham art as well. So I was like,
Just such horrific drawings, and some of them, like, you know, as much as it is kind of like you were saying, you know, Hellblazer and Outer Space, there's just something so, I don't know, there's just some sort of really base evil or something. I don't know. It's one of those things I just can't put my finger on it, but it's really, just really appealing as an idea, as a story, and there's so many nice little touches. I mean, one of my favorite touches, I think me and Damien have talked about, is that when these guys go out into outer space and they put on their spacesuits, they're getting pumped with a little bit of drugs to help them cope with the fact of being in outer space and exploring these alien worlds, so they don't completely flip out and lose their minds. They're kind of a little bit high as they're kind of exploring, you know, which I love that idea. I think that's
exactly. I was like, you find somebody shooting into the space, like, yeah, please help me with something, you know. So yeah. So yeah, well, I probably wouldn't read that before I go to sleep, though. It sounds the way because because I am that that's the thing I don't like. I mean, I like horror comics, but I can't watch movies because it might get in my brain and I can't sleep afterwards, like for a couple of nights, like have nightmares and yeah. So kind of sensitive to that part since I was little. I mean, my mom was the horror movie, like she always watched it, like, and not like normal hours, like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. She just switches on before she goes sleep. She watches. That's what makes her sleep. And I usually sleepwalked, so I used to go walk into wrong time, wrong moment when she was watching the movie. Something like it's like freak out. It's like crying. So
yeah.
Still have the memory of that kind of horror stuff.
Mm.
Well, Nameless is not going to be for everybody, right? It has to be people who like horror.
Yeah.
Well, there's horror comics I'm fine with. As I say, I'm enjoying reading it and stuff like that. I guess
it's different when it's a movie, I think. Yeah. And this one, I mean, as much as his drawing is kind of horrific and gory or whatever, it's more the ideas so far that are kind of the scarier elements, you know. So it's some Grant Morrison at his finest for me, anyway. So yeah. And then speaking of giant monsters, Damien, did you read our Godzilla in Hell issue 3 there? Or I guess read is a bit of a stretch, but
I did. I don't know where my copy is, but I loved that issue. I haven't got to talk about it on YouTube, but at first I was just going to buy the first James Stokey issue, and now it looks like I'm buying every issue.
Yeah, it's the same. I'm going to be buying every single one as well.
Because again, it's a $4.99 book, so I'm trying not to buy so many of those. But
yeah. It was actually my least favorite of the 3. So what was it about it that really worked for you?
Man, I'd have to look at it to remember.
Yeah.
I can't even remember now. It's kind of a blur.
It's dealing with like these kind of almost angels with what look like Mothra wings.
Oh yeah, so it's basically the devils and the angels were trying to recruit Godzilla, and he rejects them both.
Yeah.
And eats them both.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was so cool, and I love the mountain that looked like God. I mean, the God that looked like a mountain with eyes on it and
all the eyeballs. Yeah.
I just thought it was a really cool way to approach it. It seems like the strange thing is issue 1 seemed like kind of a one-and-done thing. Just here's James Stokey's view of Godzilla in Hell. Issue 2 was about getting Godzilla to different levels of hell, like implying that then it was leading into a story in issue 3. But issue 3 just seemed to go back to Godzilla falls into hell, and here's what happens.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's a bit of a disconnect there, which maybe makes issue 2 less of a favorite for me.
Interesting, because I think, issue 2 is turned out to be one of my favorites. I don't know if it's purely because of the painted art, but 1 and 2 really work. But you are right. I'll just show as you mention it. So there's the mountain there, if you can see that. I don't know how good my connection is, but it's great stuff. Like it's a really fun book overall. Like I still enjoyed the issue. It just Yeah,
I'm afraid that's going to be one I double dip on. If they make an oversized hardback, I'm going to have to own that.
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah. And while I was out buying that one, I found all 5 issues of Godzilla Cataclysm by Colin Bunn as well, and I just picked those up. And I just read issue number 1 this morning, and it was fantastic.
Oh, really?
Really good start to it. Basically, it's after the world has been destroyed by all these kaiju, all these giant monsters. It's kind of 20 years after the final, after the monsters have disappeared from destroying basically the planet, and it's the surviving humans. And right at the end of the issue, it looks like the monsters are coming back. Really great. I mean, I do enjoy Colin Bunn for the most part. I haven't read everything that he's done, but this one I think will be a fun one, especially again being just a mini series. It was all there, so why the heck not?
Cool. So you have it going to the end then?
I do. Yeah, I've got all 5. They had various covers. They were all cover priced though. Thankfully, they didn't have the alternate covers marked up or anything. So I just paid the $3.99, I think it was. Yeah, $3.99 per issue.
Okay. Cool.
It's a good one though, if you're looking for another mini series of Godzilla to dive into.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that. I haven't read many modern Godzilla. I want to collect the old Marvel Godzillas, which were drawn by Herb Trimpe, the guy who used to draw the Hulk and stuff. I have a fond memory of them. They might not be good, but
Yeah, I've got one in one of my boxes somewhere that I remember enjoying quite a bit. Anything else you want to bring up? Is there anything else you want to show off? Anybody?
I was curious with Larasa, what back issues have you been reading that you said you enjoy back issues a lot now. What have you been reading lately in the back issues?
Well, now Green Lantern that 76 I picked up by chance. I read that and I started becoming really a huge fan of Neil Adams' art generally, but I just like the way he's drawing men. I guess that's why I'm so attracted to it. But the storyline was really good as well in that sense, not being that shallow. But yeah, so since that, I was trying to pick up some of his like things, whatever he has drawn. It's quite a pricey thing. That's the thing with Neil Adams, you know. It's so popular because I kind of know now why. You know, you guys were like people on YouTube were talking about it, how they enjoy the art, and that's why they think. You know. But I like the side story, like the story side to it as well, because I like the way to see how he's like putting the panels together and stuff like that. So really interested in that. I start reading a couple of them. I think I start reading. Yeah, I've started reading this because I got the same Detective Comics 400 first appearance of Mad Mad by. So I read that one. I really liked it. So I'm kind of trying to just grab and read something. Really not interested. Kind of. I'd like new books. I want to read one by one, like from 1 till 10. But then I do back issues. I just pick up something and just read, see, explore, and then if I like it again, I was like, oh yeah, I need to just take something in my book saying I want to read that more. So I kind of look back to it. But Gotham Central was the one most recent one I read, and I was reading She-Hulk. I collected the whole run. I'm trying to go through each issue. I'm now in issue 10. I've been really enjoying it. She-Hulk actually really good in that old one. I like the way they were presenting her. I like the art a lot. So kind of great story in that sense.
Just showing when you were holding up that Detective Comics, I love that style of cover from those old books.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like being able to kind of see through the logo and really using that full page. I don't know, there's something about it. And Neil Adams is one of those guys that I only realized over the past few years how much I love, even though I've kind of been exposed to him throughout my comic reading life, I guess. It's one of those that there's even more of an impact on me now seeing some of that work than there was probably, you know, when he was doing stuff. Even though I loved the the Dead Man, the reprints that I had, I loved the story, and that was filled with Neil Adams, things like that. But seeing those now, such a fantastic style. I love those old Detective Comics.
Yeah, and the funny thing is because I'm not trying like Green Lantern 76 was never a book I would ever get because of the price tag. But then we went out one time with my husband. That's the good thing about. My husband likes driving me around comic book shops, which is superb. For me, it's just like, oh yes, I get to go whatever. Like I want to go to comic. Every single time we travel, we go to comic book shop first, kind of thing. For me, it's like you could do that, and then we can just relax and do whatever we had to do prior to that. Yeah. So we went into comic book shops. I saw it, and I was like, that's Neil Adams. I was like, yeah, and I like Green Lantern. I love animated series. I love the Darwin Cook's. What is that book? The graphic novel. I don't have it, but
the New Frontiers, that one.
Yes, there you go. I read digitally, and then I watched on Netflix, Amazon. I think they have the movie called animated movie, and I love Green Lantern. So I was like, yeah. So when I read that, I even more like Green Lantern, even more maybe because it's Neil Adams. Yeah. So I want to read more. I picked up from 90s first 7 issues of Green Lantern, which I'm trying to read as well. So that's another thing I'm reading from back issues. I'm really jumpy when it comes to reading. I read because that's why the thing is I could pick up so many new books, but I tend not to because I wanted to pick up back issues now. So my money is kind of I have to push away those new books in order for me to get that because I like exploring. That's the thing. I'm an explorer when I'm reading. I pick one book like Batman. I picked up now so many Batman issues, which I'm looking forward to read. I haven't had a chance yet, but the first thing I'm going to read is The Cult by Bernie.
Yeah, I saw those ones, yeah.
Bernie's art, and I was like, could not believe it. It's actually 4 issues. Actually, it has in the stack all collected because I usually see one because it's a prestige format and it's Bernie Wrightson. And then I have Swan Thing from Bernie's. I'm reading 1 by 1 issue, so there's so much to read. I was like, I can't do it. Sometimes like, where's the time? You know, you pick up the issue, you read. I was like, you want another one, and you're like, oh, you have to do this daily stuff kind of things. Like, oh no. Or like, I have to go to eat. Oh wait, I have to go now. Oh, I have to go to work in the morning. Wait. So that basically prevents me of kind of reading more. I like reading BPRD. I collected all in hardbacks. That the
real thick ones. Yeah.
I'm blanking names, man. So, and I'm reading that. I'm like almost finished second trade. I love that universe, for example. It's superb. I think Dark Horse does the thing. Mignola's stuff I really like. I read the Hellboy. I'm up to date with Hellboy now. What I'm still picking it up. Really enjoying that. So I'm kind of varying now. I have Catwoman as well from DC. Kind of reading more DC stuff now because that's Darwin Cooks as well. A couple of issues in there which I really like his art.
That's right. Yeah, the first couple issues, wasn't it?
Yeah,
the early ones. Yeah.
So so many. Like I mean, it's like when I go to comic book shops, like in the back of my mind, I already know that I have picked up such a big stack, and it's like if I'm gonna end up again with another one like this, it's like when do I'm gonna read this? But then like get just too involved in kind of I can read it because I have it, kind of thing because of this hot book alerts or things what people are thinking and like saying like like for example Black Panther, Fantastic Four. I have number 56 of Fantastic Four which I picked up. I read it, I really loved it. And I really wanted to pick up more, but then things happen. Movie, Marvel, Fantastic Four, maybe not, but Black Panther is involved in that storyline, some storyline.
Yeah.
It prevents me from reading it because I can't pick it up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of things. So yeah, so it's such like I want to pick it up that now back issues more maybe that's why I'm more urgent.
And I think that's kind of a trap too. Hey, all of a sudden that urgency, like you're saying, it becomes something in a movie, or all of a sudden a character picks up steam, and there's almost this, I can focus on the new issues now because in a few weeks we have our big comic convention coming up. So I'm gonna go like I did the last time on the Sunday. So I'll hopefully be able to kind of get my back issue fixed there. So it's kind of left me time to just focus on the new issues. Yeah, that whole urgency thing though, really, it's an unfortunate side effect, of just being so in love with the books and the characters, right? So
that's the thing. Like Kirby stuff, I want to get Kirby books as well. Like I see Damien picking up all those new gods. It's like I can't see them anywhere. And he's like showing, I found this one, and like this got cheap. I was like, how? What? Why? So I was like, and I want to read it because I wanted to find out. I'm really like Mr. Miracle. I'm really keen because there's Big Barda, and I really like the way her premises kind of thing.
Yeah.
The love story between two of them, and I never find it. I was like, damn you, like, I can't see it. I want to read that.
So you just spend most of your time just cursing at other people's videos then?
Kinda.
Yeah.
If only postage to the UK were affordable, I could be sending you all these extra copies.
Yeah.
No, stop saying that.
$80 to send copies.
Yeah, it's I mean, because I kind of like I do pick up some nice like people look, you picked up key issues and this, but just because I'm interested in it, like I am interested in that character, and then when I find it for decent price enough I can afford, of course I'm gonna pick it up. I know it's his first appearance, like Red Sonja. I have her supposed first appearance, but not really. It's the number 24 Conan the Barbarian, and I really like that issue. And I wanted to her first appearance to see how it started that storyline. Too much money. It's like, okay, so
and that's my biggest thing with the back issues. Like when I do collect them, I love the idea of kind of revisiting these characters and seeing, like you're saying, from like a beginning of a storyline or the introduction of the character, and get that sense of how they've developed over the years. Yeah, it's a hugely appealing part of it.
Well, because at the end of the day, I'm still discovering so many, you guys
absolutely.
Talking about stuff from previous whatever history, whatever happened. Like E.T.A. Nick talks about his, history with comics, how much he was like buying that time, and he was like, into this, buying habit and stuff like that. And I want to know what's happened in that time, like in 70s and 60s. Picking up those things. Like I picked up just the other day. I picked up the Daredevil one issue, that really early issue, which I didn't believe I could actually have one because of the complete hype of Netflix and Daredevil as a character. Like now, I went to Comic Mart, nothing. That Electro book was by surprise because the guy was actually, I was picking up that single issues. I wasn't really sure if I'm gonna pick it up, and there was a guy next to me just looking at them like proper. I was just looking back.
Oh no, yeah.
I was like, well, why are you looking at it? like kind of freaked out a little bit. Like, I'm still looking at them. I mean, you can't have them, kind of thing. So I picked them up, and it was very cheap as well. And he was really angry. Actually, he looked back. Well, you got a deal. I was like, yeah, I won it.
I win.
But I want to know about Elektra, but that's Frank Miller at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to read because the most famous Daredevil run was by Frank Miller, and I would love to read it. I have a couple of them. I started picking them up right before the Netflix series, but then boom, Netflix series, which I like, but then price of the comic just went up.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before, and it surprises me because here I haven't noticed a change at all. The only back issue I picked up the other day, he had it for 50% off, so it cost me $6, $156, and I mean that's kind of like I haven't noticed a price jump at all here in Winnipeg, nothing, which is surprising me because it has been from everything that I've heard, it's been a fairly popular show, but I mean I'm thankful for that. I'm glad that it hasn't jumped here because that would just kill me.
Like that's the thing. The whole Frank Miller books now, where I looked up, like in Comic Mart, every single book was £15 up.
Yeah.
And that's like not even. That's the thing that really frustrates me is that the issue is actually not like looking pristine and the corners are superb and stuff like that. They're all like red, like properly somebody enjoyed those books, but they're still asking £15 for it. And the minute you say to them, "Whoa, I would like to pay less for it," they look at you like you're like. Why you even ask that kind of thing? It's popular. Don't you realize it? It's on Netflix. I was like, okay, but I want to read it, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the thing. As I say, like Neil Adams, I was so lucky getting that issue, like 76, because everybody really wants it because it's the cover and stuff like that. And I read it. It's superb. I actually really enjoyed the storyline behind it. I love the art. I was like, yeah, I actually read it. And for me, that's actually reading it, not like in my collection, like, I'm going to sell it now, I'm going to get so much money for it for me. It's not going to happen. Just, I can't believe I have it with me because of unavailability. It's like so pricey, that book is.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you're talking speculation, those Neil Adams ones will be valuable 20 years from now. The other ones won't. They'll be back down to their low prices again after Netflix is done.
I mean, I understand Daredevil and Frank Miller because Frank Miller is very popular. At the end of the day, he has written so many good stories and stuff like that, and the way he created the Daredevil itself as a character. So I understand those. But then some other things like, it's like newer, like the Bronze Age books, they are already getting way up the high price where I was expecting it to buy some things like that. Like Defenders actually everywhere else I looked, they're really expensive, but when I got that pack of Defenders worth 50 pence, I was like, I can't even believe it.
And that's one that blew me away because I'm collecting that run as well, and I'm having a hell of a time because every time I do see them, that run here is always pricey, especially those first kind of dozen issues or whatever. Obviously, they're always up there in price that I can't always justify it.
Exactly. So that's the thing. Of the first 20 issues, I can't even look at the price-wise because of they're so high. The number one is like because of Defenders and what they're planning in the Marvel universe. It's just.
I think that's one though that's been kind of outside of that scope. I think that one's always been pricey because of the book and because of the people, the characters on the team. I think it's just been one of those kind of underdog or maybe not underdog, but kind of unsung heroes of kind of like the team up books. You know what I mean? It's over the years, it's always been up there for me. It's rare. I mean, like you're saying, once you get to kind of 50 to 100 and beyond 100 or whatever, then the price has dropped. I've gotten chunks of runs later on for dirt cheap, but those early ones are still, they've always been pricey, even before there was ever talk about a TV show.
How pricey are you talking on the Defenders?
I mean, it varies. Obviously, condition. I'm seeing some higher condition ones at comic like conventions. I don't even see them at the shops here, but you know, we're talking like anywhere from $30 to $50 kind of range. Which even when it hits kind of the $20 range for me, that's beginning to be out of my comfort zone to pay for a book. I mean, obviously that depends on the book, but yeah, they've been right around that price range, you know.
Yeah.
The first appearance of Defenders, that's pricey because it goes from here like from 90 upwards. Even sometimes it depends on the condition as we talk about.
And is
like
that's a Neil Adams issue, I think, or just a Neil Adams cover.
Is it? Well, Eagle. I want. Yeah, that's the thing. So in #1 issue from in here, for example, very good condition is 20 something, and okay, it's maybe fine for me. But when I looked at that very good that condition they're talking about, it's very the cover very attached to it, and it's like £20 for that. You know, at the end of it, I like my books. I don't care much about the condition if I can read it, but when the attach of the cover is not there, it's like, oh, okay, why would I pay price that much? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, that stops me of kind of getting.
Well, I bought issues from like maybe 6 up fairly inexpensively, but I haven't tried to buy the earlier ones.
Yeah.
Certainly, you don't need to read them in order or anything.
No, absolutely not. No.
No. I know that. Yeah, I read when they got that stack of Defenders, for example, I read number 50 to 54. I didn't have any problem. They had story each time, different one, and I really enjoyed it. I like the team. I like the Valkyrie as a character as well.
Yeah.
I like the female kind of thing, you know, like always get the first thing for me. And I'm discovering how they were portrayed in the comics. That's the thing. That's what really makes me curious about them. And yeah, so I really like the team. That Doctor Strange is there, Hulk is there, you know, like Namor is there, and all of them. I find them kind of like the big stars of Avengers, for example, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not Thor, not Iron Man, not everyone that stuff like that. So yeah, really cool. So I like reading that as well. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, and as much like you were saying, you don't need to have them. I don't know. On somebody. I hope it's not me. Hold on.
What happened?
Close all these here. Even though you don't need to read them kind of in order, it's still nice to read them from the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm still echoing. I don't know what's going on. Hold on, I'm going to plug in my computer.
Who is that? That might. I don't think that's me. I've closed every possible window.
Yeah, I don't have nothing really open. I just the screen.
Maybe Lillian is watching on your other computer.
Yeah.
That could be. And speaking of Lillian, it's about time for me to head out. I think it's 5:15 here.
Okay, cool.
So maybe we'll say goodbye. Is everybody say goodbye? Unless you guys want to continue chatting while I go get her.
This seems like a good enough stopping point.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can talk again another day.
Yeah, there's always
Sure.
another day.
All right, guys. I'll stop this broadcast and we'll say goodbye. Thanks for watching two viewers. I see there's 2 people here.
Cool.
Thanks a lot for hosting this, Terrence.
Thank you.
No worries.